little girl at the airport but had no idea what to do when the parents called the police on him. Mark Jordan spent a significant amount of time in airports. His job required him to travel across the country dozens of times per year, from one factory to the next, ensuring that all company specifications were followed to the letter. Mark was waiting to connect to a flight to Detroit when he noticed a young girl. She was crying and curled up under a chair in a waiting room. "Hello," Mark said. "What's the problem?" "I'm lost," exclaimed the youngster, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. It was one of those antiques that no one used anymore. Mark's wife insisted on him carrying one at all times. She'd say something like, "A handkerchief is always carried by a gentleman. You never know when you'll require it." Mark realized she was correct. This tiny mite was in trouble, and he had a nice hanky to lend her. Mark had the feeling he was a knight in shining armor. "Here, honey," Mark said, handing the hanky to the girl. "Wipe your nose." The child took the hanky and used it enthusiastically before returning it to Mark. "You keep it," he exclaimed. "You never know when you'll need it again." "What is your name?" "I'm Kelly," the little girl said. "And I'm 4. "Well," Mark said, "you're a big girl. So then, where are your mom and dad?" Kelly's lips began to tremble as she was not sure, and she appeared as though she was about to burst into tears again. He then inquired whether the little girl knew where exactly she was going. "We're going to New York City for Granny's birthday." Kelly enthusiastically said that they were going to New York City for her Granny's birthday. Mark then took a look at the announcement board and noticed that there were 12 flights to New York scheduled to depart. Mark then asked Kelly what her mother's name was. Kelly gave him a mocking look. "Her name is Mommy, stupid," she exclaimed. Mark let out a sigh. "And I'm guessing Dad's name is Daddy." Kelly smiled brightly at him. "Exactly." "I'll tell you what," Mark declared. "Come out from under that chair, and we'll look for your mother and father, okay?" Kelly considered it and then told Mark that he was a stranger and she wasn't supposed to converse with strangers. Mark giggled and told Kelly that she was absolutely correct. He then told Kelly that they would go where everyone could see them, and if Kelly got scared, he told her to just yell police as loud as she could. Kelly agreed and quickly scrambled out from under the chair, and Mark took her small hand in his and began walking towards the information desk. Mark and Kelly joined the long line of people who were waiting. Mark also told Kelly to keep an eye out for her mother and father, as they would probably be looking for her too. Kelly instantly nodded and began to scan the crowds of people passing by. The queue for the information desk moved slowly. "Please excuse me," Mark said to the people in front of him. "I have a lost child with me. Do you mind if I go first? I'm sure her parents are concerned." A large man with a red face said, "You must wait your turn. We all have issues." Another grumpy woman with frizzy hair said that she had been waiting for almost an hour. She told Mark that there was no way he was crossing the line with that unfortunate story. Mark let out a sigh. Airports would somehow bring out the worst in people. Mark let out a sigh. Airports would somehow bring out the worst in people. He waited patiently with Kelly, and as they approached the counter, a voice screamed, "She's right there. Kelly." Kelly turned around, let go of Mark's hand, and ran towards a slim, pretty woman who looked very upset. She screamed, "Mommy," and cried and hugged the woman. Her mom began sobbing and asked Kelly where she had been, while another man arrived and hugged Kelly too. Kelly then pointed at Mark and said that she was with her. But her parents immediately thought the worst and began yelling at Mark, asking him what he was doing with their daughter. Mark instantly held up his hands and tried to tell them that they were making a mistake. Kelly's mother started calling him names and yelled for someone to call the police. Mark was quickly surrounded by airport security. Mark was trying to tell them that they were doing something incredibly wrong. But Kelly's mother was adamant that Mark was the man who had abducted their daughter, and they were fortunate to find her. But Kelly quickly snatched herself away from her mother, saying she was wrong, and ran to Mark. She took his hand in hers and told everyone that Mark was her friend and was assisting her in locating them. Kelly then told her parents that Mark had told her if anyone made her uncomfortable, she simply had to yell for the police. Mark then told Kelly's parents that he could understand their worries as he was a parent too. A few hours later, Kelly was safely on her way to New York with her parents.